Welcome to URF TV. I'm Stacy Paetz, and joining me, oh my gosh, there's so many wonderful things I can say about this guy. Former U.S. Eagle number 410. Well, he'll always be a U.S. Eagle number 410, but former player, current commentator, and also current legislative advocate. He's brilliant, he's kind, he's thoughtful, he's so much fun to work with. Welcome in my dear friend, my brother, Colin Hawley. Hello there.
Stacy, thanks so much. And what an intro. Thank you. It's been you, and you've kind of led by example for me. You're the pro behind the mic. So thank you for being so great for the sport. And excited to see you on this. Excited about URF and what they're doing. So really fortunate to be on here with you. It's just exciting.
It really is. Thank you so much. And I fell in love with rugby in 2018, and I've not looked back. I mean, it's one of those sports I didn't know much about until I started covering it, and I was hooked immediately. And you are one of the main reasons, because there's so many people like you in this sport who are just good people and that love the game and that really want to push this game forward and want other people to understand how special it is. How have you seen it grow in the last 10 years?
Oh, last 10 years. So I was 28. So really, that was when we've had the Sevens World Cup and the circuit, some big victories on the Seventh Circuit. We had some big victories where we beat Tier 1 nation in Scotland during that time, and Blaine Scully was the captain. So really, you had in the last decade some really amazing like USA Rugby victories on that front, continuing on the circuit for the Sevens, and some great players like Perry Baker and Carlin Isles, making some headlines, Alona Marr, all these things have happened in the last 10 years, which is, step by step, getting that notoriety coming up in terms of the marketplace for sports. And I just feel like we're trying to get that product right in terms of how everybody else around the world is going to absorb that, especially in America. And that's where I think we're at. But the play is better, watching Cal versus Cal Poly and commentating that. These student athletes are incredible. So that feeder system's going. We're out here in Sacramento in the grassroots game with the young kids and the Carmichael Hawks. You've got coaches out there, and they're picking up the ball before I even had one. So that's incredible to see. So all that I think kind of lends itself to growing the game in America, and it looks really, really good.
How do we grow it even more in the next 10 years? What needs to be done?
Yeah, so that's kind of, you'll get different answers around different people, but, exposure. So like you said, as soon as you saw it and you got to talk to people in the stories, that's generally how we recruit people on campus. It's like, just come out for it and, give it a go. And usually people are like, this is really interesting. My wife had never seen it. Her parents had never seen it. And now they've recorded Six Nations and they're switching over from that to NFL. And it's just like we said, it's like exposing folks to it and bringing that community out, and the outreach that I think from storytelling in Major League Rugby and doing this. This is so important to tell those stories and how ingrained it is within the community. Like, it's the oldest sport on Berkeley's campus, and we've got a great collaboration with a bunch of historic programs and club scenes out here. But it's old. We've been around a long time. There's a lot more than you think, and getting everybody together, pointed in the right direction, I think, is what I'm aimed at here for the next 10 years, of really figuring out what the fans want, what the players want, and creating a product that everybody's going to love and be stakeholders in. I think that is really going to change the game.
I can't wait for all of that to happen, and I truly believe that it will. Calling games with you is so much fun. I've been on the sidelines when you've been on the booth. We've done some pregame shows together, a couple grand finals together. It's so much stinking fun. Because I know that's just a fun side gig for you, and you're so good at it, and you're one of my favorite people to listen to, because you have this infectious energy. And anybody that looks you up online, if you Google Colin Hawley, you will see there's nothing but smiles on your face. It doesn't matter how hard you've played, how many minutes you've played, how many tackles you've taken. Where does that all come from?
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah, it's the truth, man.
The first stepping into it, I actually just really love the game. Yeah. I'm a creative, right? It's one of those things where on the pitch, when I have the ball in my hand, when I'm with my friends and playing with my friends and teammates, it is the most creative experience that I've experienced in sport, right? And in general. And the amount of personal expression when you have the ball in your hand and seeing everybody else do that, it's like you see these different artists on the field, some of the big guys, some of the fast guys, and they all have this expression to them. And at the game, when you play it for a while, it really develops that, almost like watching the great NBA players like Steph Curry.
Mm.
Right? His expression on the court is incredible. And I just think rugby, there you have to have all skills. So you have all these different kind of personal expressions for the game. Yeah, it just came from a love of the sport. My old man played, so I've been around it since I was born. So I had all my rugby uncles. I was born a rugby guy. I'm going to die a rugby guy, and that's kind of different from folks seeing ever. It's more of a real family affair, community affair where I feel grateful, and my job is to leave the sport and leave the jersey in a better place. And the way that I love to do it, coaching and being on the mic, is show the excitement that I really feel. And this moment was actually really hard to do and really, really cool. Let me tell you about it. And I was talking to my buddy Keegan Engelbrecht, who's my co-captain. I'm like, I know this is stuff that we've been around, but that new player, that new fan, like this is really exciting. So when you have these moments, think about it like that moment is on the highlight reel, and just talk to it how it is. And that's I don't know, I try to stay in that mind space as much as possible.
And you do, and I'm witness to that. Being around you, whether we're on the air or whether we bump into each other at the hotel getting ready for a game. Like that's just who you are, and it's such an admirable quality. And I just appreciate that so much about you. That and many, many things. I want to talk about your dad some more. Gosh, I would have loved to have hung out with him. Talk to me about that, because it truly is in your blood. How did he really pour into your life, the sport of rugby, and just create the amazing guy that you are today?
Yeah, I mean, so we've had this historic team from Cal Berkeley, and all these guys are football, rugby converts. Some guys coming back from the war. So you had this big group of just football guys, rugby guys. And so every, game that I went to, every golf tournament, that the guys got together, 65 team, all these stories were there. So there was so much color. And what you got from them is like the personal expression that brings out in the game. And you got the big guys that look like mailboxes, and you've got like the tall giraffes, and then you got the skinny short guys. It's like they all came together, and like the stories and the banter and the brotherhood, it was something that I wanted, and I wanted to create and maintain throughout my playing career. I saw how valuable it was. He was a leader in that. So he absolutely kind of led that charge in terms of the rugby. He never really pushed it on me, but he said, if you're going to do it, then we're going to do it well. It's your choice, but we're going to get out there and we're going to play this game with respect. I'm going to show you how to do it well. And from there, he had throat cancer, so he can talk, but he would just write notes down after every game, and we would sit and talk and analyze this match. And he was really, really good at, hey, this was bad. How are you going to fix it? This was good. So it was a real analysis most of the time. And that started in high school, really, because we didn't have grassroots. So it was this really good mentorship, and all the rugby uncles would come out and give their 2 cents. But that's what you get from clubs, right? And all these clubs in Europe. You've got dads that played, and they're out there watching their kids, and then the sons and daughters are out there playing touch. And that's kind of what I want to recreate here as well.
And now you're a dad of a son, a very handsome son, I might add.
Thank you.
What do you look forward to most in putting a rugby ball in his hand? Or is that even something? Let me check myself. Of course, that's something you think about. But how will you approach that with HP?
Well, it's the same thing with, I think he's going to get the same exposure that I did as a kid, where we're going to be going to reunions and golf tournaments and games. He just went to his first match at Witter Rugby Field.
I saw that. I love it so much.
It was incredible, and I was super grateful. But that's what I'm going to do, because I'm a rugby guy, and it's a place where He's going to have some stories. He's going to have people. But there's a lot of folks that played rugby that, they went pro in something else and they have other things. But really, it's the community that he's going to have should he want. And if he wants to take that to, high school and play the game at a level, that's great. But really, it's that rugby community that he's going to have regardless. And if he wants to take up the ball, he's got some great coaches and rugby uncles to kind of teach him the way.
Oh, that's so special. And just heaps of protection too. Like you all look after each other. That's something that I also picked up on very quickly, coming from the NBA and covering other, sports like that. Like there's just an element for me, as a host and reporter, I feel very safe among the rugby community. And that is incredibly important and special. And, I did walk away with a lot of awesome friendships from the NBA with families and with players. I call a couple former NBA players my best friends, even still today. It's just different, though. It's so different. So for anybody that might not understand rugby or someone that's new to rugby watching this, what else do you think really sets rugby apart from other sport?
That's a great point, Stacy, and I think it's part of the rugby community that's very, very unique. And why I think it's such a great community game is if you want to play this game, we'll find a place for you. As long as there's respect for each person on the field, respect for the referee, respect for the coaches. It's really based on respect and really more of a selfless attitude for what's best for the team, being the best teammate, and being the best rugby ambassador. I think every team that I've played on, and from the national team to college to playing in Sri Lanka and all over the world, that has been consistent across nations and cultures, is this great respect for being a team. You can't win a game alone. There's some sports that you can, and there's some folks there, but at one point in time, you're going to be on the bottom of a ruck, and you need your players there to support. So it kind of forces you to be more collaborative than competitive internally. And truly, I think that is where you create those bonds. And also the culture of, you've been a part of this now. So if you come to Sacramento and you're part of a team and you play me, right, we have this game and it's pretty heated. It's very physical. But we know the post-match is we're going to exchange ties from the captains. We're going to say some words from the captains. Normally, we give the best player, best back, best forward award, and then we host you for a meal. We bring you to our table afterwards, and we feed you. And then, my personal favorite is we teach each other songs and games from different cultures.
Oh.
I've got this game international rules where I've got games from France and Ireland and New Zealand that just came from the circuit. We'd sit at the table after these tournaments, after kicking the crap out of each other, just having food and having a laugh and playing these games together. And that's so unique. I thought it was more common than what it is, but I don't think there's another sport that does that.
I can't think of any. I mean, I've been to weddings of former athletes, NFL, NBA, and it looks like an all-star lineup of the groomsmen, right? Like you'll have that happen, but at the same time, when I tell people who don't know anything about rugby, you're not going to believe this. Like Team A just got their butts handed to them, but they're going and having dinner with Team B who just handed them their butts. Like it's crazy. And the way they treat each other, again, going back to respect, is just so incredibly unique and encouraging. And if we could sprinkle that in, gosh, if we could pour that over the world right now, I would be a much happier person. But it's just one of those things that in my heart has always set it apart. And it is fun talking to you who has been entrenched in this beautiful sport for so long that you do assume everything's got to be like this, right? Like there always has to be this kind of respect and support. No, there's not. I'm here to tell you. I've covered 32 different sports. I'm here to tell you it's not the same. I love what you said also in terms of you are more collaborative than competitive. That line really stood out to me because in sport in general, that's what we're taught. Be a competitor, go win. If you scored 20 points, why didn't you score 25? You know what I mean? So when you adapt that collaboration, and of course you're still competitive, you don't lose your edge, but when you adapt and adopt that collaboration piece, how has that helped you in life, in your work? outside of rugby, in your marriage, in your other relationships, because collaboration is a big and very important thing.
No, it's a great point. And I talk about this often from whatever team that I'm on, whether it be tech sales or legislation and, whatever, or on the Classic Eagles. I literally hone in on the sport wants you to be the best teammate that you can be, right? And compete with yourself in that avenue. So it's like, am I competing with how many tries I'm scoring this year, which is great. If I'm competing with how many tackles I have, which is great. That all needs to come through a filter of what's my job on the team and how can I do that to the best of my ability. That might be tackles, that might be poaches, that might be tries, but it starts from a place. Your approach to being a great rugby player is being the best teammate. But also there's a great line, and we were at camp with Blaine Scully, historic captain of the USA team, and he had a great mindset for this, and one of the best player-led captains. We were doing this conditioning drill, and guys weren't touching the line, right, when we were going back. And so we kind of stopped and huddled us up, and it was a great moment of leadership in terms of, hey, we're going to make sure that everybody touches the line. It's not just about me, but it's about the dedication. So he said, and we use this all the time, I'm not asking you to do anything that I'm not doing. So in terms of marriage, right, it's like there's dishes, there's cleaning up, there's taking care of the baby. It's like, listen, I'm not going to ask you to do anything that I'm not doing, but I know that you make tackles better than I do, and you know that I score tries better than I do, but we still have to be all skills, and we got to be willing to do all those parts of the game, whether it be, work or sports or marriage or relationships, but be willing to do everything. And don't ask somebody to do something that you're not willing to do as well. And from there, man, that's humbling, because there's some stuff that's really hard for you to do. I didn't like tackling that much, but I had to do it. So I didn't rely on somebody else to do it. It's like, I've got to go ahead and improve my skill here. So I think when you approach that differently, and rugby really makes you do that because you have so many skills that you have to do: run, pass, catch, kick, defend, ruck. It's a lot, and you're not going to be great at everything, but you have to do everything. And I think that's more like life, right?
Yes, yes.
It's like, hey, I just do this and this is my job. It's like, well, that's not really realistic, right? We got to be career people, and we got to be, husbands and wives and parents. It's more of an all skills kind of thing. So
Yeah,
that's how I approach it.
that's excellent. Yeah, rugby clearly makes you a well-rounded person. And I think that's another thing that sets it apart from other sports. I love that story about Blaine. I've obviously met him a few times, and what a terrific guy. I mean, some things never change, right? He's just a thoughtful, still leading the way in so many ways. What are some other stories that you would like to share that just really stick out to you, that shaped your rugby journey, that maybe opened your eyes to life after rugby? Anything that just really comes to mind?
I love this story, and actually, this is kind of the full circle rugby. My first practice at Jesuit High School, there was an old upperclassman, and I've never played, and we're playing a real live drill. It's like we're tackling, it's physical, it's aggressive, and I'm on the wing, and I was about 5'5" at the time, so I sprouted later. And this upperclassman, literally, he was coming down the wing, and he picked me up. And literally, I'm trying to tackle him. I'm just like, how you usually do, picks me up and throws me out of bounds, like out of the touch line into a grate, and scores. Normally it's like dudes will be like, yeah, whatever. The same guy, and we're friends to this day. We just went to the Japan USA match together. Picks me up from the ground and says, hey, buddy, that's a hard hit. Dusted me off and got me back in the line, and took that time to go ahead. We're all in this together. This is part of the game. You'll get it. Don't worry about it. From there, like, I just have always tried to emulate that because it meant so much to me. So every time there's a big hit or something happened on the other team, you always give that respect that we're all out here trying to play the game to our best ability. And it is dangerous. It is tough. But, that's just the stitching in between.
Mm.
So that was a big one in the beginning. There's been so many guys through Cal Berkeley and leadership there that has been amazing for me. Louis Stanfield's one of them. He's a Jesuit Cal guy that really took me under his wing. We trained together in high school after training, to get better and all those kind of things. but really getting up to the highest level with the World Cup and, the precipice of the sport, the amount of commitment that was there from the players, from my captains through Matt Hawkins, and especially a guy like Zach Test, and the commitment level to the game exponentially increases as you hit this the honesty increases. So across the board, there was just way more honesty around the game from leadership that helped people throughout the game become better. It's like, listen, we're at the bottom of the table on the seventh circuit. We're barely winning shields. How are we going to be honest as a team to look at our performance and get better? So that was led by our captains along the way. And Paul Emmerich's one of my great heroes in life and rugby, and he was great at that. And Matt Hawkins, Zach Test, Todd Clever, and Chris Wiles, all those guys, if I had to sum them up, it's like the honesty around the performance and the commitment level was just unsurpassed.
Mm. And so many people, even in daily life, so many people are afraid to hear the truth. And what we don't understand sometimes as individuals is sometimes that truth, even though it could be painful to hear, if you really receive it and apply it, it can make you such a better person and such a stronger person. And especially when you're in a team setting, knowing that, hey, I'm going to tell you, you didn't do your best in this match, and that's okay, because you know what? I still love you. I've still got your back, and we're still in this fight together. I'm recognizing, I'm acknowledging, and you already know if you didn't have your best foot forward, and we all have off games, but the fact that you can acknowledge it and still celebrate each other and know, like, I'm in this foxhole with you. Like, this is not going to change anything. It's something that, again, sports is such a metaphor for life if you allow it to be, and you've given so many beautiful examples of how that continues to be true. When you look at fan engagement across the sport, how do they really play a role? When you were on the pitch and you could hear the fans, I know you tuned them out a lot because you were so focused, but what did the fan base really do, and what do they do for athletes?
Yeah, great question. First off, it terrifies you. First national championship, and that's how you build up to these big moments of, when we played at Twickenham in front of 80,000 people when we beat South Africa the first time.
My God, you gave me chills. Keep going. That's crazy.
And, we had a sports psychologist at the Olympic Training Center, Peter Heberl, that really helped us do this. And he worked with a bunch of Olympic athletes around how you manage that mental load with the eyeballs and the pressure. And it's a skill set just like anything else. And again, I'll bring up, the mental fortress of Blaine Scully, where I had a real issue getting nervous before games. And literally he sat back into, the team. It's like, if you have done the preparation right with us, we need you to be at your best. So in your brain, think about how that competition across the way does not want you to think, right? It's like, I'm going to be the best teammate today. I'm not going to let anything get under my skin. I'm ready for this. It's, when that moment comes when you got to play, like, you just got to be all in. You got to cannonball into that match. And then when you get out there and the fans, you take a moment and you breathe it in, that this is an awesome place to be if you're fortunate to be in there. But also you've earned it, to get up to that level. So I don't know if you've seen For the Love of the Game with Kevin Costner.
Oh, yes.
Picture, and he goes, clear the mechanism. You actually do, like most of the folks that I talk to around our mental prep, you get so focused out there that you take it in and it's a really awesome moment. But as soon as that ball gets kicked on the kickoff, literally it goes away. It goes away. And it's kind of a weird thing that, I'm sure you get it on broadcast sometimes.
Absolutely.
I'm so dialed into this narrative, and I have the vision in my head, and it forces you to really get dialed in. That's a hard skill to get. So the fans, it makes that moment so incredibly special, but it also forces just this crazy amount of focus, because you won't be able to survive if you're, listening to everybody around. But Very interesting question, and it's tough to articulate, but I hope I did an all right job.
You always do. You always do. And thank you for sharing all of that. And yes, I do have that experience, even still today. You know, it doesn't matter how many games I've called, at what level I've called them, before a pregame show, before my first hit on the sideline. I still have nerves, you know, because I want to deliver. I want to do a good job. But then as soon as that first one happens, you're like, okay, here we go. Game on. It's all good. And it's just really, really a special moment to be part of that. And that's always been my goal, is to give fans those stories. Like you said, when we first started communicating, is you know, sharing the stories of players. And once fans get to know the players, then they fall in love with the players, the game, the team, the sport. It's just such a beautiful domino effect. And it starts with getting to know each other and sharing our stories. And I'm super grateful for you and sharing your stories with us on URF TV. And I just also want to allow fans to get to know a little bit about you as well, and anyone that might be in this place of, you talked about the mental aspect. I think a lot of athletes, they certainly don't think about this until clearly the latter stages of their playing days. But when you are starting to think about retirement, and hopefully it's your choice when you retire for athletes, how do you put your brain around that? You know, because it's such a huge part of your identity. So when you come into that retirement, for an athlete who's up against that today, how would you support them in approaching retirement and not losing the fact that, you know what, you're not just an athlete, you're also a brother, a friend, a husband, a father. You know, how would you spin that?
Yeah, that's a great question that, you know, a lot of folks within my circle, we talk about often. And we call about the great transition and the becoming something else. It's like the 80-20 rule is 80% was rugby, 20 was the other way. But then you really got to figure out how, you know, that transition is going to work. For me personally, after the World Cup in Russia for the sevens, there was this really drive to start transitioning to outside of the sport. At the same time, my commitment to the sport was massive. So I had to be honest with myself. It's like, that's not the right way to go, just to go cold turkey. So literally I thought about, like, okay, how can I stay engaged with the sport at a high level and at the same time have a foot in a confidence while trying to find my footing outside of somewhere else? So when I talk to young players that may be transitioning, thinking about it, it's like, this community is bedrock for me. It always will be. And the rest of it's like, it's the pursuit of happiness, right? The framers outside of it. Rugby makes me happy, you know, finding something else that's going to be a professional adventure and journey, finding that happiness again and making sure that you're around the right culture and team was the biggest thing for me. And so that's why I went back to San Francisco and like played and was director of rugby for Olympic Club, but also commentary. It's like, there's still more that I want to get back to the sport. And you can coach, you can volunteer, which I do. It just depends on you finding that own way and obviously helping people to get in those positions, right? It's like, I was pushing my buddy Keegan to commentate for a decade. Finally got him in, and he absolutely loves it. It's special. It's just like trying to find somebody who's a coach or helping somebody with a rugby training camp or whatever it is. Having that mission still be consistent while finding something else is really important. So that's what I would say for most folks is, you know, the cold turkey thing. A lot of people glorify that, but really it's a love. And you can do that at the same time, be really honest with yourself, what fits you in your journey, what you find compelling, the same way that you found rugby. It actually speaks to you a bit, and you should know your why when you go do something. And if you don't, then have a chat. I've had so many chats with my rugby brothers around, hey, which direction to go in. And it really came down to either you know what you want to be or you know where you want to be, right? So if I was going to be an actor, I'd be in LA, right? Or, you know, if I knew where I wanted to be, which was Northern California, close to my country hometown, my high school in Berkeley, you know, it's a drive away. It's like, I want to be home after traveling around. So from there, you kind of reverse engineer, okay, then where were these industries that I felt that I could find myself doing well and doing this long term, or just going on walkabout and trying things out. So I was building homes, I was doing tech, I was doing mortgages, a bit of politics and legislation. There is a bit about, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So be curious the same way that you found rugby for the most part was a curiosity, and give yourself some time to do that. But then commit and be honest and be a great teammate for whatever you choose
Mm.
to do afterwards. And that's all coming from a rugby standpoint, right? It's pretty interesting. But like you said, sports is such a great teacher of how to apply it to most anything else in life.
It is. And I am so grateful how rugby has brought me so many new brothers. I can think of so many, you included. And I just am super grateful for your friendship and for your continued support. And I've always got your back, whatever that looks like. Can't wait to babysit HP whenever you guys need me. I will be there. I'm already in love with that little guy. And just again, thank you so much. And I cannot wait to work with you again. To call games with you is one of the most amazing moments that I have is to call games with you. So I look forward to doing more of that in the future.
No, it's an absolute pleasure, and I just want to thank URF for this mission that they're on, and fan engagement, and really the team that they've created, including bringing you on. It just seems like there's a different conversation happening around the game and creating real stakeholders for guys like me and maybe Blaine or other folks that, I'm a rugby guy till I die, and creating that avenue of, we're actually stakeholders and we're here to help the game grow. But it's great to see you, Stace.
Great to see you.
Excited to do this, and congratulations on this. I know it's going to be great with you behind the wheel. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. And you know what we say? Fans first.
Rugby forever.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Colin.
You're welcome.